Hello, and welcome to episode 11 of the Motivational Millennial Podcast.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Today we are speaking with Ami Kim, who is an absolutely beautiful soul. She was in Korea teaching at the time that we recorded this episode and believes in the ability of music to connect communities globally. We're so excited to share her story and journey with you today and all of the deep wisdom about love and spirituality that she has to share. Stay tuned afterward for the after show with Blake and I, and we will share our biggest takeaways.
Let's do it. Hello, welcome to the Motivational Millennial Podcast, where we talk with inspiring members of the millennial generation who are living life with a sense of purpose and achieving their dreams. I'm Blake Brandis.
And I'm Ivy LeClaire.
Our Motivational Millennial guest today is Ami Kim. Ami is an international songwriter, vocalist, producer, composer, and educator. She has performed with Ninth Wonder, Chrisette Michele, Citizen Cope, Wyclef Jean, Raekwon, Macy Gray, and in concerts in over 400 venues and nationally and internationally. He received a hip-hop ambassadorship in Bangladesh in 2014 and a fellowship with the international music incubator One Beat, sponsored by the U.S. State Department in 2015. Her most recent music project, Dragons and Gardens, focuses on equality, environmental sustainability, and human rights, and will be a further work of love, light, unity, and global music artivism. Ami, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Blake and Ivy. It's definitely an honor to be on Motivational Millennial, so I'm so excited to talk with you today.
Well, thank you, and coming all the way from Korea, too. Much appreciated. So we'd love to hear more what you're up to at the moment and why you're so passionate about it.
Sure. So currently I'm actually teaching and living in Korea. So I'm teaching English through music and culture here. And I'm also recording and releasing music for the Intercontinental Music Project that you mentioned, Dragons and Gardens. And I'm just passionate about sharing and traveling and collaborating, just giving. I love teaching. I love music with all of my essence. And I found that both of those things are skills that I'm able to be of service, great service to any community that I'm in. So those two things are very present right now in my life, and I'm just so thankful to be able to give in that way. I'm in my first year of a self-designed master's program, and I'm studying sonic alchemy. So sonic alchemy basically is just studying sound vibration for the use to intentionally harmonize organic beings like humans and also spaces to the highest consciousness level that we can possibly get ourselves to. So that's been exciting as well.
Ooh. I mean, that's my reaction to sonic alchemy and your description of such. Yeah, that sounds really wonderful.
Thank you.
Take us a little bit back into getting into music and your love of music and this really interesting connection to a deeper level of spirituality, it sounds like, for you through the music.
Yes, interesting you kind of ask in that way. This is the first time I've actually probably thought of the connection, but when I was 7, I grew up in the American South, and my parents are, very spiritual and very positive. So when I was like 7 years old, I was pretending to be a preacher, and I had like full-blown messages straight from the Bible. I would put on a robe. The audience was my grandmother and my mom. So I think I've always been kind of connected to this higher source. And just through my journey, I would say that studying different texts, I've studied everything from Christianity to Taoism, Buddhism, Confucianism. And so as I started getting into music, I think those worlds just combined and it became a seamless interpretation of my gift here in this realm, just to give in that way through spirituality and creating sonic pieces that interpret that. So it's been a journey, and I'm sure more gems will come in terms of as we talk about how that all folded.
That's really amazing. I'm interested to hear about your path through music and how you ended up working with the State Department as well, because it sounds like a really cool combination of your artistic and creative passion combined with the humanitarian and community building outreach.
I would say just kind of starting being in the beginning of it all, music has always just been a love. I grew up around artists. Both my mom and my grandmother are visual artists, so they did ceramics and paintings and things of that nature. And I was about 9. I found this beat making software on my computer. I think it was a demo or something like that. And you could put together loops or make original compositions. And so I made my first beat like around 9 or 10 years old. And after that, I was kind of hooked to making music. So I continued forward. And once I got to college, I started performing, and I really got into performing, but also songwriting. So I started teaching songwriting in North Carolina. One of the people I met when I was performing in North Carolina, they applied for this grant with the U.S. State Department where they would take basically hip-hop creators to different countries and kind of use hip-hop as a cultural diplomacy tool. And so I applied for the program once they got the grant, and I applied for the program, and I was accepted for the first year. And that was just a mind-blowing experience, just using and seeing how much, for one, hip-hop globally is such an influential, unifying art. It's just so, it permeates so much of our global society, and it's such a tool that we can use to just come together and see how much we have in common. So that's kind of hopefully that was the short story of how that all kind of led up to that moment.
Yeah, take us a little bit into when you're on the ground in Bangladesh, for example. What is that experience like? What are you doing? What kind of people are you meeting there?
It was an amazing experience because with the U.S. State Department program and how they structured it, it was great. We were able to, of course, work with the U.S. Embassy there. So we're working with a government organization. They also have local partners on the ground. So we're working with community centers and fine art schools and just public schools. And then we were working with students. So when we got there, basically, they had already had students who were interested in hip hop apply to basically be part of the program. So we got there, they had already been selected, and we worked with them for 2 weeks. These students were about high school age. We worked with them for 2 weeks and did workshops on everything from rapping to DJing to hip hop dance to beat making. I was leading the beat makers, and that was so exciting. And then at the end of it, we did a final performance. So we're engaging with so many different elements of a community. We were in the capital of Bangladesh, Dhaka. Not only did we get to see the artistic perspective of the culture, but of course we're tasting the food and we're getting to see the clothes and how the people live there. It's interesting, if you see public buses there, people are riding actually on top of the bus and like serving tea to each other on top of the bus because the bus inside is so packed. And so it's just interesting to see those things as well. So it was just a very thorough experience, I would say, just of engaging with the culture with art. And it was just so exciting. I mean, to see how art just unifies and can take you anywhere in the world. I mean, that was just the greatest experience ever. So I'm kind of addicted now to just traveling and sharing art and seeing what we can do positively to help the world with our gifts.
What do you think was the biggest way that you grew personally from that experience?
I will have to say that once I went to Bangladesh, because I had actually never heard of Bangladesh, to be honest, before I went on the embassy program. So once I got there, I would say the biggest way that I grew was I was able to open myself up to realize that there's no separation between any of us in terms of our brothers and sisters in any other place in the world. And the unifying thing between all of us is the love, or I call it the love currency. It made me see that we all have common things and we all may have different perspectives, but we're still here together trying to do our best and living day to day and making it work the best way we can. So I discovered the love currency, and the love currency, it's an amazing thing because you can go anywhere in the world and not be a stranger. You are never a foreigner if you come with love, and the love currency is accepted everywhere.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And you're able to express love in so many different ways, and you're expressing it through teaching, and you're expressing it through music, and just interactions with people. And so the love currency takes many forms as well.
Exactly. Got it. That's it.
That's great. Well, we'd love to hear a story about a defining moment in your life where you said, yes, this is exactly what I love. This is my passion. I want to go forward with this.
There's been so many defining moments. Maybe one in particular that really kind of helped me understand or understand rather how impactful music is. I would say that when I first started music, I was in my first years of college and I was performing at talent shows and things, and then I got with a band, and so we started performing off campus and we put out our first EP. We were doing shows, and one day one of our supporters, that would come out to our shows, he came up to me and he said, hey, there was one song in particular that he said basically helped him not commit suicide. It just resonated with him so much, and it just helped him through a really tough time. And when he said that to me, it really almost helped me understand it's not just a kind of narcissistic thing that I'm doing just to express myself, and maybe others will understand or resonate with it, that there was something special in the music that I was creating with the band and just collaborating with anyone really, that we can really touch people and heal through this art of music. And so that gave me a broader perspective that I have a role, in a sense, and a responsibility in society as an artist to do the best I can to give and be, for one, authentic to who I am, but know that it can help others from hearing the music that we were creating. So that was extremely impactful, just to know that someone was so affected by our music in that way, in a positive way.
I want to acknowledge that you found this deeper purpose within the passion that you already started pursuing. And I think that's really amazing and magical, because you moved forward with something that you really cared about doing, which was music, and you already loved that. And then through that experience of saying yes and moving forward on that journey, came uncovered this whole other level, deeper level of passion and purpose and excitement with it.
Yes. I think it's a journey that we take. There's so many levels to our passion and so many levels to our journey. And I feel if we just follow that fire, we're going to see so many different hues of that fire. There's going to be the blues and the purples in the fire and the reds and the oranges, and every color we can engage with and share with others. And so the layers, the deeper understanding of the passion, I think it's just kind of what unfolds and happens when you just surrender to that which is fire within.
And I also like that you were able to recognize that your artistic creativity and expression is beyond the personal, specifically related to you. And I think that's something that many of us who are artists struggle with sometimes, feeling a bit indulgent sometimes, like, who am I to make this art or to share this story, and does it really matter and does it really connect? But I love how you had that specific experience with one individual whose life was changed and saved, in this case, through the music that you created and your willingness to share. And I think that's such a good encouragement to people who might be questioning the value of their art or whether or not to pursue their journey. And it's not that everyone has to make their full-time profession, but I think just you sharing that experience is so moving and such a great reminder, I think, of the power of art.
Yes, I agree. I think that as artists and as givers, I think everyone is an artist, whether you're a manager or whether you're a post office worker. We're all artists because we're all creating and affecting realms within ourselves and also around us. And I think that specifically with artists and creators, that whatever is inside of us is divine and it's there for a reason. And I feel that it's there not only for ourselves, but for just the greater good of all of us. And so it is our duty, it's our responsibility to share, because there is so much value beyond ourselves in sharing that divine spark that is within us. So I think we just need to be okay with knowing that our art is here for a reason and here for a purpose, and just move forward in joy and just keep creating. With artists, the main thing that we can embrace is that whatever is inside of us, whatever we're led to do and led to share and led to create, has a divine purpose. And so just surrendering to that divine purpose is amazing, because we can see that it is so much greater than ourselves, and that it's okay. It's okay just to know that we have something to create, and when we do share it, it's going to unfold exactly what it needs to in terms of what its purpose is in the world. Let's just keep on creating.
I love that. So on your journey of creation, What are some of the major challenges that you've faced, and how have you overcome them?
I don't really see challenges or problems. I do see opportunities. I've had some opportunities, definitely, for growth. I would say that there was kind of, in some ways, I say with family, some of my family that just extremely supported music. And then there were some that didn't support or just didn't see the full vision in terms of me being a performer, in terms of actually just going out and performing my music. Because I was composing when I was about 12 years old. I started composing. So I was composing, but I really hadn't started performing until I got to college. And so I think that one of the opportunities for growth was that even though not all of my family saw the musical vision that I had for myself at that point, I think the opportunity there was just to unconditionally support myself and unconditionally believe in myself. And when I did that, when I just came to that steadfast conclusion, like, all right, I'm going to believe in myself. Once you do that, you will attract people who also believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. And they also, in a sense, can become your supportive family. I just kept going. And interestingly enough, I have a lot more support from my family now, and it's amazing to see how much you transform around you when you just unconditionally believe in yourself. Not all your family may agree, or if not all your friends see the vision yet, you just got to keep going. So that's one of the biggest, I think, opportunities for growth that I had, was just discovering how to unconditionally have faith in myself and the vision that I had inside.
Can you talk more about what it looks like when you're unconditionally believing in yourself? How do you do that?
Wow. Well, I will say from my personal journey that for me, it looks like just almost bullheaded determination to get it done. If you see something in your vision or in your mind in regards to what you want to do with your passion, for me, I would say specifically, I was determined to perform. So when I got to college, and the first thing I did, I was at every single talent show. I mean, if there was a talent show, I don't care if it was sponsored by the Kappas or, by the fraternity. It didn't matter who it was. I was there at that talent show. And I also would say that, I saved up a lot of money to just invest in myself. If someone told me you have to invest in yourself for anyone else to invest in you, they have to see how much you believe in you for them to believe in you again. So I think it's just keeping your vision in mind, just almost being bullheaded with it, and knowing that, there is compromise here and there, but just sticking to your vision, because when you stick to your vision, that means you're being authentic to yourself. And I think that's kind of, for me, how it's played out in terms of just being having unconditional faith in the vision that I have. It's just been a journey. And the main thing really that sums it all up is just don't give up. Just don't give up, because when you feel almost at that point where you want to give up, that is usually when something great is coming. And it's always been that way for me. When I almost feel like giving up, then something beautiful happens, like an ambassadorship with the State Department, or I'm able to collaborate with amazing producers that have won Grammys in the industry, see a value in what I do. And it's always just been this magical journey of just like almost on the brink, like, no, keep going. So I think that's what it is. You just got to keep going and know that the vision inside of you is there for a reason, and just believe in it.
You have such natural cheerleader and inspirer in you. It's so beautiful. I love it. Yeah, I mean, and you were able to hold that for yourself, and you're holding that for others right now. And with that cheerleader essence of yours and that inspiring essence of yours, I'm wondering what advice that you would like to share with other millennials who are pursuing their purpose and moving toward fulfillment and success.
I would say, well, actually 3 things come to mind. First, I would say anyone listening needs to read the book The Alchemist. The Alchemist is just one of those books, I can't explain much about it, because everyone that reads it gets their own just wild, beautiful transformation from that book. It's so personal. You can't just explain what it will do to you. You just have to read it for yourself. So I would say, number 1, read The Alchemist. Number 2, a phrase that I keep inside of me is just choose to be happy. When you're happy, you are the best version of yourself. And it's so easy to choose any other emotion. You could choose sadness, you could choose doubt, you can choose fear. But why not choose the one that feels the best, which is happiness? So choose to be happy. It's a choice. I feel like there's no one making you not be happy but yourself. So you just have to get in the habit of choosing to be happy. So choose to be happy. And number 3 is live in your beautiful now. Just live in the now, because to have a great future, you have to have a great now, and you have to be engaged with your now. To remember a great past, you need to be engaged with your now. I feel like now is where it happens. All of your nows. You don't need to wait to do anything. Just start now. So read The Alchemist, number 1. Number 2, choose to be happy. And number 3, live in your great, beautiful now. Those are the 3 things that I would say can give you so much energy in every single moment as you're on the journey of being a motivational millennial and just a magical being.
I feel like that's a fantastic slogan. Maybe we can.
Hey, no copyright on this.
It's all love. That's great. So we'd love to hear a little bit more about what gets you motivated on a daily basis. It sounds like those are some of the key tenets for you. Are there specific things that you do every morning or on an ideal morning that help set you in that happiness mindset and the consciousness of being present?
I would say on a beautiful, great now morning, I wake up, I take maybe 10 or 15 minutes just to be still and just send energies up for what I'm thankful for, what I'm grateful for. And then usually I try to do the breath of fire, which is a quick yoga or yogic breathing practice that kind of awakens the mind and gets your beta waves in your brain going. The beta waves are kind of where we exist for most of the day, working and thinking logically. It just kind of wakes the mind up. I try to practice yoga for at least 30 minutes and then go for a morning run. So all of that combined, and then I just guzzle down at least a 4th gallon of water, just get my water intake for the day, just to wake my body up in that way. So all of those things combined just really set me in a good pace so that I have energy throughout the day and that I'm just in a state of gratitude. It's said that when you're in a state of gratitude, you are closest with the divine mind, and I really feel that that's true. That's what I do in the morning to get pumped, ready to go, and let's get it. You know?
Ooh, that's a beautiful foundation.
Thank you.
Would you share a motivational quote or a phrase or book that changed your life?
One quote that really stands out is a quote from Gandhi, which is, be the change in the world that you want to see. And that stands out because I feel that a lot of times we do want to see change in the world, but I feel that to really see change, we have to be the example of that change and become that vibration totally. So if you want, for instance, I'm an environmentalist, so if I would love to see the world reduce its use of plastics, then in my own life, I have to really start reducing my own use of plastic. I can't say, hey, reduce plastics, and then I'm buying 18-pack of water bottles every day. I have to implement that in my own life first and be an example. Or if I want to see more love and light in the world, I just can't say it. I have to embody the essence of love and light. So I think being the change that you want to see actually can create more change than trying to do the change. I found that that's really where change happens. It starts with yourself and it starts within. And once you change within, then the whole world changes with you. So I think that quote really stands out. I would love to share for my fellow millennials.
I loved the phrase that you said, embodying love and light. That's such a beautiful image. And the word beautiful keeps coming up in my mind as you're talking. And this is a caveat to just say, you are so beautiful. I hope to someday have the opportunity to see you and meet you in person, but you just have this essence, this embodying of light and love that's coming through the airwaves right now. But I do have a question about that. I just wanted to tell you that.
You are too. Beauty knows beauty. So.
But I'm wondering, how do you know when you are embodying light and love? Like, what does that feel like?
Oh, wow. It feels like the constant reminder that bliss is our natural state and that it's everywhere. there's no division between anything at all in this realm, between like ourselves and anything else. So for instance, embodying love and light is, I understand that me and my TV, we have a relationship. I may not watch this TV, but I have a relationship with the TV. We're homies. It's here, it keeps me company. Or if I see a flower outside, like that's one of my sisters. Or if I see a child walking down the street, that's a person that's a part of my community. It's this effortless, non-divisional state of just experiencing bliss with everything that's in our lives and appreciating everything that's in our lives. And I think when you're in that state, everything is just bold and it shines and you see all the colors. And so again, it's a resonating frequency of vibration about gratitude and love and just choosing to be happy again. And I think with the combination of all of that, love and light, it has no other way but to flourish in everything that's around you.
Thank you so much for sharing all of your gorgeous wisdom with us today.
Thank you, Ivy. Thank you, Blake. It's been a pleasure. I really do hope we have more opportunities to share and grow with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we go, please share with our audience how they can learn more about you.
Sure. So everyone can find me at Ami Kim World. That's AMIKIM World. That's my handle, so that you can find me on Instagram, Snapchat, and SoundCloud, Ami Kim World. And also my website is amikimworld.com. And I did mention the side project I'm involved with, Dragons and Gardens. So you can find us on SoundCloud just typing in Dragons, N-I-N, Gardens. Those are the two main places that you will find where I'm vibrationally active.
Perfect. And we'll play excerpt from Ami's song Dragons and Gardens on our way into the after show. So thank you so much for being here today, Ami. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and wish you much love and light.
Yay! Love and light. Love and light to you, Ivy and Blake. And thank you as well. It's been awesome. I've had so much fun.
Monopolies on her kisses, crystals under her pillow, to solidify sacred wishes. Oh, this is the color purple. Never know why we care, but we care more. Never know why we're here, but we're here. What is a blur is also is clear. The magical mystery always appears. Never knowing why we care, but we care more. Never knowing why we're here, but we're here. What is a blur is also it's clear. The magical mystery always appears. Dragons and gardens, dragons and gardens, dragons and gardens, yeah. Dragons and gardens, dragons and gardens, dragons and gardens. When you look for me, you can find me. In dragons and gardens, dragons and gardens, dragons and gardens.
That was Dragons and Gardens from Ami Kim's new project called Dragons and Gardens. I hope you enjoyed it. When I first heard that track, I really loved it. I was like, yo, we got to put it on the podcast. And Ami was kind enough to let us do that. So in the after show, one of the things I really wanted to highlight that Ami said in her advice to millennials is choose happiness, choose to be happy. And I wanted to explore that a little bit more because I think sometimes it's not so much about choosing to be happy in every moment. And if you're ever feeling another emotion, you're doing something wrong, you need to choose happiness right now. I think it's about feeling those other emotions and recognizing them and processing them and then choosing a baseline or a default of happiness. Because I think it can be easy to choose a different default that we walk through the world with. So like a default of being angry. So any given situation I'm approaching it from a perspective of I'm angry, or there's going to be something in here that's going to make me upset. And I think we can choose to walk into a situation and say, there is something about this that I can be grateful for, or that I can be happy about if I choose to be.
Yeah, and I really like what you pointed out in saying that there's a difference, for me, that there's a difference between choosing the emotion happiness versus choosing what I would call filter of happiness. Because emotions happen. I don't know that we can really choose emotions, but we can choose how we interpret what happens to us and what happens in the world. And the other thing I would say is that there are two categories that most of us all have in terms of categories of thought. And one is our saboteur, critic, negative pool of thoughts that are, this is terrible, and you're terrible, and why did you say that, and all of these things. And then there's the other part of us that's, I believe, really connected to our inner wisdom and clarity and confidence, which is, oh my gosh, this is amazing, or look at that wonderful thing, or I want to do that. I want to be that. I want more of that in my life. And I can do that. So those are the two sort of baseline categories. And I feel like, practically speaking, practicing mindfulness or meditation can legitimately help you recognize these patterns that happen, which sometimes are dominated by negative, sometimes not. But there is an ability to release those negative thoughts or not give them so much weight or be so attached to them and focus more on the positive, healthy, awesome thoughts that we have. Because we have both. We just tend to ignore the positive one, I would say, out of habit, which is exactly what, for me, choosing happiness is where is my focus?
Yeah, and I think a really practical way to implement that in our own lives is to look at the questions that we ask ourselves in any given situation. So we can approach a situation and the question can be, what's great about this? If I wanted to be grateful, what could I be grateful about in this situation? Or what could I be happy about? Versus coming at every situation with a filter of, what's going to upset me about this situation? Because we can all do that. We can all get in this mode where we just are having a bad day. And I think a quote-unquote bad day, that's a filter. That's you
Totally.
walking through the day looking for things to be upset about. And you're going to find them. And you can walk through the day and look for things to be thankful about. And it's not easy. That's one other point I wanted to bring up is it takes some emotional energy, especially if we're used to different emotional patterns and different filters, to first of all become conscious at all that we're asking these kind of questions in every situation. What does this person want from me? Why are they judging me? We don't know that. What could this person be thinking positively about me right now? What could they be admiring about me? How can I be more of that for the world? And it may sound a little cheesy, but that's hard. It's hard because it's easier, at least it feels easier, to default to that negative critic voice because cynicism is always easier. Oh, no one really cares about you. No one really loves you. Nothing's good in the world. We're all going to die. Versus, hey, we're all going to die. What a great opportunity to do something amazing in the world.
Yeah, live life to the fullest.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say the question that really helps me when I'm interacting with people is, how can I make this person more comfortable? Or how can I support this person? Because it takes the focus off of me and my level 1 inner listening voice, which is like, oh my gosh, what are they thinking about what I just said? What's the next thing I'm going to say? It puts the focus on the other person, and then I'm able to be present and listen to them and be with them. And in reality, that's novel for most people. Mm-hmm. So I don't even have to worry about doing or saying the wrong thing if my orientation is to serve the other person.
Yeah, because so few people really feel listened to or understood. That's one of my favorite little sayings, is everyone feels underappreciated and misunderstood. And going into each interaction with the question that you just presented, how can I help this person feel more comfortable? How can I support this person? Is such a gift, because most people, it's going to be as simple as just listening to them, helping them feel heard and acknowledged and appreciated. And they will remember that for a long time because it's so rare.
Yeah.
So what else did you enjoy or appreciate from the conversation with Ami?
So for me, I have to pull up my notes here, because I really loved this interview. I actually love all of our interviews. I love all of our interviews, and I also love that there's so much abundance of love that I can just love all of them. But anyway, I love this interview, and what I love specifically about it is her deep spiritual perspective, which I really relate to. And one thing that she said that stood out to me and really resonated was, when you are in a state of gratitude, you are closest to the divine mind. And I love this in part because it reminds me of another amazing spiritual presence in my life, who is the minister at the Unity Church I attend, Reverend Bill Engelhart. I'm shouting you out right now, okay?
Shout out Reverend Bill.
Shout out Reverend Bill.
I don't know you, bro, but I'm sure you're cool.
That's so cool. And a few months ago, he was talking on about a similar subject. And I take notes everywhere, people, okay? It helps me process. I rarely actually go back and look at them, but today I'm really grateful. It helps me process and remember and learn, so I take notes all the time, everywhere. But he says, gratitude, no matter what, puts our mind in receptivity to consciousness, aligning ourselves with the divine order that is greater in the moment than our ability to comprehend. And to me, what that's saying, very similarly to what I was hearing and what Ami was saying, is that when we're in a particular moment in life, whether it's really terrible or really good, if we only focus on this moment, I mean, I would actually say that this happens more in moments that are bad. Like, moments that are good, it's really easy to feel grateful for. You win the lottery and you're like, yes! You don't have to grasp for gratitude. But when we have moments of loss or moments of grief or moments of doubt, that's when it becomes difficult to find gratitude. But we can all think of a moment in our life that we felt at the time was the worst ever. And in hindsight, we actually really grew from that, or it put us on a path that led to something really wonderful and beautiful. And what gratitude does is, in the moment, it allows us to be aligned with the bigger picture of what's happening in our lives. I mean, like, our story isn't over now. Our story is continuing. And when we have gratitude, we're basically saying, I know that whatever crazy or terrible thing is happening to me, or seemingly terrible thing that's happening to me right now, is in service of something greater for my life right now.
That's so true. And I think we can all look back on certain moments in our lives and recognize them in hindsight, and what a gift it would be to recognize them in the moment.
Yes, in the moment.
Which is a choice, and I think that's a good point, is that we can choose to, let's assume that this is going to be good for me in the future. I'm not sure how yet.
Yes.
And it's not really clear, but this thing that seems terrible right now is actually going to work out for my benefit. And that can be really hard, especially if a lot of things happen to us in a row that feel really negative. And that's probably why they call it faith, right? Because there is this aspect of saying, I don't know the future and I can't control everything, but I'm going to move forward regardless.
Yeah, and the moment that you say, I believe that this is going to work out in the future, or that something good is going to come of it, or that something good is going to come of this, it makes that likelihood so much greater. Mm-hmm. Because if you say, this is terrible, only bad is going to come from this, and you like, oh, we're going back to the filter, that is much more likely to result in terrible things, because you're not allowing yourself to take actions and take steps forward.
Yeah, you're really digging down into what's terrible about it, and like you said, often creating more. I think of that whenever I get angry or frustrated about a situation. My immediate inclination is always to escalate it in some way. And I think one of the things I'm most grateful for about something I learned along the way, and I don't even know how I did this, was I've got like a built-in buffer time between hearing something or seeing something that really angers me and reacting. And I think that just must have developed over years of frustration with video games or something, or Legos or something. But it's been so helpful to me, because whenever I've short-circuited that buffer and immediately responded out of anger or frustration, man, it just makes the situation so much worse. And all the times when I've been able to let the buffer, just ride it out and say, okay, like, I'm really angry, but I'm not going to do anything in this second. I'm not going to send any emails or say anything or make any phone calls that would, have this negative consequence. At first, it seems like, oh, you're not being true to your feelings. But on the flip side, every time I've been quote unquote true to my feelings and retaliated, it's always turned out badly.
Yeah, and I think the really important piece to highlight about that is being reactionary. A cautionary tale about being reactionary. Mm-hmm. Not about if someone does an injustice to me or if I am treated badly. The lesson isn't I can't create boundaries later or I can't take care of myself. But in that moment of emotions and thoughts like flashing into your mind, and interpretation of the moment flashing into your mind, it's just taking a step back to detach from that in a healthy way, not in a ignoring life kind of way, but in a healthy, detaching from your thought sort of way. Then you're able to move forward in life from the orientation that you are choosing and that isn't just happening to you.
That's right. And even if you do, as you said, have to respond, either creating boundaries or enforcing boundaries, you're going to be much more strategic about it. And you're going to express it better or have a clearer idea or path forward if it's not, charged in the exact moment.
Yeah.
So that's a great point, because I think you're right. You really do want to maintain accountability for other people and yourself. It's not about letting everything slide, but it's just about choosing an outcome that you really want versus the one that feels most righteous in the moment.
Yeah. And I would say that the summary of our after show in many ways is that it begins with you. It begins with each of us, right? It begins with us, how we create the reality in the world around us. We got to start with us.
Which was another one of Ami's beautiful points. So way to bring it full circle.
Oh, woo! That's what we're all about.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for listening to the podcast. Thanks again to Ami, and we'll see you next time on the Motivational Millennial Podcast. The Motivational Millennial Podcast is supported by Motivational Millennial Coaching Services. We help you find clarity and confidence so you can take action toward living your dream life. To learn more about one-on-one personalized support from someone who believes you have a path to fulfillment and wants to help you uncover it, visit motivationalmillennial.com/coaching. For show notes and upcoming guests, or to learn more about Coactive Coaching, the blog, and our other awesome offerings, visit motivationalmillennial.com. Keep in touch with us at facebook.com/motivationalmillennial.
We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email with your thoughts, comments, and suggestions at podcast@motivationalmillennial.com. And tell us who you might like to hear from, or if you think you or anyone you know would be good for the show.
The Motivational Millennial Podcast is edited by Christy Hostler and Team Podcast.
Our theme music was composed and performed by Blake Brandis.
Have a great week, motivational millennials.